Good afternoon. Here it's Wednesday, and I told posted a little earlier today that I wouldn't put apologetics lesson on tonight or this afternoon, I should say, but rather I would do something a little different today. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll pick back up with apologetics tomorrow. Just needed a little break from that myself. I thought maybe ministerially I would try to address a few things. One thing is we need to start with prayer because we do have a prayer request coming from Ms. Christine Ratcliffe, who is a member, even though she lives in Pierre Part, and her goddaughter Casey and husband Tyson. They've been um, they've been diagnosed with COVID-19, so they tested positive. So we want to pray for them. So let's start by praying for these. Okay, Father, thank you that we have the privilege to pray to you and that we're aware of something that we can bring before you. We want to pray that you would just be with both Casey and Tyson, that you would give them healing, that this thing would not get out of hand, out of control, or take its toll on them. Rather, they would be healed quickly, and that they would come through this unscathed in the end. Lord, we pray for Miss Christine. I know she's concerned down there. Lord, I pray that she knows her church family supports her and these two in prayer as we intercede on their behalf to you, and we entrust them to you, their souls and their lives, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, today I did need a bit of a break myself. Probably say that I don't know. I guess some things kind of weighed me down in the last couple of days. So one of the things that I want to do is kind of reflect on some of my own personal burdens as a pastor, for us as a church, for you all, and also just name some things that probably ought to be said out loud in terms of some things that everyone deals with in a time like this. It's hard, a hard time. Let's face it. It's hard to be stuck. It's hard to be stuck inside. It's hard to be stuck in a place where you really can't move around as much. It's hard to have freedoms taken for granted and then taken away. So, and not taken away in any way intentional. Um, One of the things that we have addressed just from the pastor's standpoint, Frog and I and Felix had all talked about some people having drive-in churches. Well, and Lafayette Parish said is not an option. We are not supposed to do that. They're not going to want to do it. They would shut it down. We wouldn't do it anyway because it's a terrible example to set, to draw a crowd, and to risk exposure. So we won't do that. And the thing is, some people are thinking, like this fella up in central Louisiana, that somebody's taking churches' freedoms away and we ought to have faith. Let me just address it like this, okay? Nobody is persecuting the church over this. Everyone's in the same boat. If the business can't meet and the church can't meet and this and this and this, it's not the church being singled out. So let's not make ourselves martyrs. That's silly. So we need to keep things in perspective. I know that again, it's hard not to meet. It's hard not to see one another, and it's hard for me not to see you and shake your hands and hug you and everything else. It's hard to know that some of us will hurt very badly financially because of this, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do about that. And a lot of us are going to feel it, and it's just what it is. It's hard to know that this is fundamentally going to change much in the world. To think it won't is just naive and understated. This is big. It is taking a toll. This is unprecedented as far as modern history. This is something that will affect economics. It will affect how people interact socially to some degree. Um, It'll affect things in the future when viruses come down the pike and we begin to be concerned about them. We may see things shut down very quickly. And the thing is the world does this, we have economies that will not be able to survive this very well. So this is fundamentally going to change many, many things. It's hard to know how much that it will fundamentally change things, and we can't do anything about it. I know this is hurting Pakistan and Haiti, two ministries that we do. Rest, pray, shut down everything except feeding. As far as I know, they still have their feeding program going on. You live in a place like Haiti and you get sick. I read yesterday, I think they have 64 ventilators for a country of about 11 million people. So you know how that's going to turn out. And the thing is, you can't get any medical help or equipment in there. We are absolutely out of luck in any kind of way except to send funds to feed those people. And the thing is, that may be the only way it don't wipe some of them out. When maybe we can keep them strong enough by keeping them fed to be able to fight this. And the same thing with Pakistan, speaking to our people there. There's kids in the brickyards that hadn't eaten and they're getting weak. These are very significant times for these people. It's hard also to not know how long this will last. We are out of meeting until at least the 1st of May. I think the first Sunday we would be able to meet, according to the plan that is now in place, would be May 3rd. We do anticipate that probably going to be longer, not shorter. And that's just the way it's looking. So that's just hard to not, it's hard to know it's hard to not know how long this will last. Let's face it, it's difficult. It's hard to know that those who are sick and those who lose loved ones during this time, that I cannot be there for them personally. That's just a burden I have, and there's nothing I can do about that. It's hard to realize the depth of love I had for all of you. There's no way to express that just in words on a video. But just knowing that I can't get to you and this is how we interact is difficult. We should all be feeling those burdens as well. It's hard not knowing how this will impact the church. We know it'll certainly impact us all financially. The church will be impacted financially. We just don't know to what extent. And at this point, we can operate for quite some time in the black. So it's not overly concerning at this point. Of course, if everybody just stops giving and this lasts much longer than it's supposed to, then we have a real issue and nothing that much we can do to combat that issue. We're just to that point. Only if those things happen. But the thing is, I have to say it because we have to think about it. It's hard to know how this is going to affect attendance. Some people may get lazy into the virtual stuff. So when we do get to start meeting again, we're going to shut all the videos down for probably 3 months just to say, nope, we need to be together. And so that's going to be something we're going to do. It's hard to know who might be falling off right now into just lack of participation or interest in the church, maybe. With all the concerns going on, the inability to meet and be accountable, sometimes that happens. It's hard not being around the youth and the transitions classes because they mean so much to me. I just miss them. This is going to be something that we need to recognize as just how big it is. That some things will never be the same in the world. And that's big. And it's something that we should be considering. And it's something that we shouldn't be afraid to consider. It can be scary because it's unknown. And let's face it, everything that is that fundamentally different, where we would actually be in a place where everything's different, it's going to affect us. And so we are, every member, every household, going to have some hardships because of this. From those who run businesses to those who run cash registers, everybody's going to feel it. So if I could say, or just a few things that I kind of need to express to you and hope that will help make you think about how you're dealing with this personally, how much you all mean to me. I want to express that, and it is very much true. How I would give my life for any of you, any one of you, in just a second, and that's just true. If you know me well, you know that's true. If you don't believe that, ask my family, and because they know I would for them, and they certainly know I would for you. How thankful I am for the pastors and the deacons in the church, and how they've been able to be in agreement and try to call one another and call the congregation. I do appreciate that, their families as well, and their support. How much the staff means to me, to some of the people I see every day. It leaves a void in my life when I'm not seeing the same people I'm used to seeing every day, obviously. How I have concerns just like you do, and I understand those concerns. So when you feel scared, when you feel some anxiety, when you get frustrated or whatever, that's something that I feel as well. How we shouldn't be afraid to express honestly when we fear something, and where we have anxiety, and sometimes when we need some help or when we need some resources, when we need to talk, when we need to cry, when we need to just feel love from somebody, when we need some words of affirmation. We need to be able to say that, honestly express it, and we need to be able to count on that from one another. I say I love you a lot, especially if you're getting text from me right now. You'll see stuff like that because I mean it, and sometimes that's the most I can show. At a time like this, that's the best I can do. But I say it because I mean it, and you should be saying it to one another. Hang in there, take some breaks. Here's some things just to help out. I think just from a pastoral care concern, some things that we need to do is stop watching the news all the time. Okay, 1 or 2 hours a day is probably the max you should be watching it, because it's just impossible to live past the chaos if that's what's in your mind all the time. So don't fill your mind up with that. This is going to last a while. You keep filling your mind up with that, there's all kinds of things that are going to be happening. You're either going to be depressed or scared. You're going to buy into some crazy, almost, I don't know, some of the conspiracy type theories out there. Science has already shown this was not a man-made virus. If you're buying into that, that's just completely illogical. It's silly. Empirical proof has already proven that this is it's a mutated virus. Those things happen. Happens for other viruses. It's just never happened in this way to this one. Okay, it's just new. We don't need to be watching stuff about people bringing tanks in on the rail cars. People post stuff like that in every single moment of uncertainty. If you watch Facebook very much, you'll see that every time there's moments of uncertainty, people are posting stuff like that. Okay, that's just the military moves things on the rail cars. That happens all the time. Don't start buying into this stuff. Don't start buying into the conspiracy theories. Sometimes there's a fear of expertise. It is almost a loathing of expertise. We think if we don't know something, it must not be worth knowing, or somebody's trying to get one over or hide something with us. You know what? There's all kinds of things that happen in the world. I'm certainly not naive. But I also understand that sometimes things are a little bit more like they look like they are. And there's enough experts saying the same things right now. We should be able to trust that, okay? That kind of thing right there is unhelpful, and it really is an integrity issue. If that's where you want to go with this in your own mind, I think that that you need to do that on your own. You shouldn't include others in that. You shouldn't try to promote that kind of thinking. It's just silly and unhelpful. Keep in touch with people. That's something. So take a break from news. Don't buy into all the theories that are out there. There's a YouTube video, a meme, and everything else for every single thing that you ever want to know. And 90% of it's wrong about everything. And it includes with this particular situation we're in right now. So take a break from some of that. Take a walk, pray and study, of course. Keep in touch with people. Call people from the outside of your house and outside of your little circle. Stay in touch with them. It is a good time to reflect on our relationships with other people and whether there are people we need to be reconciled to, because we should spend some time doing that. We should not be in a situation like this before that happens. Okay, if there's reconciliation in your life that for a fact needs to happen with somebody, it's time for you to do that. And so also love your family. This is a good time to do that. It can be frustrating when you see the same faces all the time. You know each other, so you're not really afraid to say, what you think to each other. But That's okay. That's what living in a family looks like. Okay, love them. Be glad that they're around. We all will get through this together. Our families are gifts from God. We are in the places we are for a reason. We have a role of responsibility to love our family and to demonstrate responsibility to them. So there's some things that might be helpful to you. Most of all, just don't get in a bad way and not ask for help. So you need to call. You can call me on my cell phone anytime. And so if you do that, then all you got to do is tell me something that, I need to talk, I need to cry, I need whatever. That's all right. And you need to express that. If you're not going to call me, find somebody you can call. Um, because we need to be able to process this. There's going to be a lot of post traumatic stress after this because it is something on everybody's mind. And if the numbers peak at the number they think it is, for instance, you know, then we're going to see a pretty mass amount of people sick and dead, and we're going to see some scenes in some of the emergency rooms and some of the intensive care units maybe we've never seen in this country before. It's not because I'm trying to scare you. I'm just saying we need to be prepared for that. And if that's what happens, then we need to be able to deal with it. There are two ways we shouldn't deal with it. First of all, is to act like it's not going on and just kind of shut it away and go on about. We can't compartmentalize too much. We do need to put some things away and just deal with this little bites at a time. But we do need to deal with it, okay? Don't let it just sit there and you try to act like it's not going on and going on with your life. And then, because later on you're going to feel the effects of this. Everyone is. Um, so that's really important. I had some reflections on Proverbs 27. I mentioned Proverbs this morning. I read some more this afternoon, and Proverbs 27. I just want to mention some of the Proverbs because I think they can help us kind of reflect on some wisdom for our lives in this time. The first one is 27, verse 1. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Boy, that is like a perfect thing. I mean, think about, 8, 10 weeks ago, this was the last thing I was thinking about. You know, we all make plans, and to some degree, we're supposed to. I mean, we just can't just chaotically, accidentally go about life. I mean, I understand that, but I do think that we need to make plans with humility and knowing that God changes a lot of things, and so we shouldn't worry about tomorrow. We shouldn't boast too much about tomorrow. We should plan cautiously about tomorrow because all of that may change dramatically, and we see that very well. Another one is verse 5 in Proverbs 27. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Well, that's good for us right now because, you know, sometimes we need to be called to correction, and sometimes we need to have somebody open our eyes up a little bit, and maybe somebody's doing that because we need it. We should receive that. That's wise to do that. It's better to have friends tell us things that are hard because they can be trusted because we know they're going to say the truth, and that's what this proverb is about. An enemy multiplies kisses. In other words, they just let you go on about foolishness and flatter you. And that's not what any of us need right now. We all need a measure of humility, especially in these times. Then verse 9, perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. Um, Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart. The pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. One of the best things is to just get those little words of encouragement from people right now. It's what can keep us going. That's where we should be. A lot more positive, a lot less negative. We should be pleasant in our dealings with people right now. Do not forsake your friend or a friend of your family. Do not go to your relatives' houses when disaster strikes you, better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away. In other words, when disaster strikes, okay, then what we need is we need close friends who we've had all along. Those are the people who we can trust, not some long lost person we hadn't seen in forever. The people we need to be close to right now are those we've been close to all along. Don't forsake them when disaster strikes. That's betrayal, is what that is. And so we don't need to do that. Then, verse 15, a quarrelsome wife is like a dripping of a leaky roof in a rainstorm. Restraining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with the hand. It's funny because there's a whole lot, like, there's many proverbs that talk about what a quarrelsome wife is like, right? Really, remember in Proverbs, we're talking about two ladies, wisdom and foolishness. So it's no wonder he's using the metaphor of a wife, okay? We can use that metaphor as a quarrelsome person. Is like a dripping faucet, and y'all know what that's like if you've had somebody in your life who's pretty quarrelsome. Okay, it is aggravating. That is the last thing we need to be to one another, is aggravating, like a dripping faucet. So then he goes on at the next verse, verse 17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So we see a call to that right now. Instead of being like dripping faucets to one another, quarrelsome, aggravating, irritating, we need to find ways to sharpen one another through this, to help one another through this. And finally, as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. One of the things that we look at right now is we understand exactly where our lives are. If we didn't 3 weeks ago, we sure do now. So if we didn't have enough and we didn't plan well, and we aren't established in our lives well enough to have an emergency, read Proverbs. It talks about going about planning for things like this, that, we should look at the ant who works hard and stores up for the winter. And so that is a good place. It's a good place for us to reflect. Why are we in the place we are? What kind of situations have we allowed ourselves to get in at this point in our life? And where are we going to we're going to go from here? Our life and the relationships we have and the place we are reflects our heart. If we have a bunch of broken relationships, a bunch of I guess our lives look like a war zone of relationships, if we kind of are isolated by ourselves, if we basically have no friends, stuff like that, then maybe it's time for us to look at our lives and say, boy, this proverb tells me wisely to look at my life and understand that there is a place where I can find where my heart actually is. What am I pouring into, in other words, that's created the current circumstances that I'm in? That's what it really is about. You are and I am exactly where we've made ourselves to be in these moments, whatever that looks like. And so whatever we've been pouring into, now we know what kind of value it has, or what kind of things we need to repair. Use this time to look at our lives and find out where those places are that, there have been landmines, and we need some healing, and we need some reconciliation, and we need to strengthen maybe our ability to plan and different things like that, so that we will understand that every moment of our life, we are where we've made ourselves to be. That doesn't take God's sovereignty out of anything. Remember, he works concurrently with human agency as we make choices in order to accomplish his will. But sometimes our choices are terrible, and he's accomplishing his will despite our foolishness, And so I don't want it to be despite my foolishness. I want it to be because I am trying my hardest that my heart reflects his heart, and so that my life is ordered in a way that would please him. And in moments like these, I get a real reality check of that. Is that the case? So I think that we have a good opportunity here to look at these things and understand them. It is really impossible for me to express to you once again how much I love you, and how much I can't wait for us to get back together when it's safe and right to do so. And I have great confidence we're going to make it to that point. And, I have confidence that even though there's going to be moments here where, we might have the time extended or anything like that, We'll get back to it, okay? And in the meantime, only reason I continually am burdened to post these videos is hoping that something can be equipping to you, hoping that maybe these prayer requests are getting prayed for, that we're continually remembering the needs that come up within our congregation, hoping that we take these moments to grow. Um, and we don't have to meet in a building to do that. The reality is we need to learn how to do this anyway. We need to learn how to do this in our personal life, in our home, when we're alone, and when there are other people in the room. Both. I mean, all of it. We have to learn how to do this, not just rely on meeting at a church and having that our spiritual life. This is a good measure of that as well. So those are just some things that burden me. So if you need something, you call. Remember, it's hard for us all, but you know what? We all need to hear from one another. And if you need to sharpen yourself, then, and I need to sharpen myself, then we need each other. So please take advantage of that. I've been having a good time with those doing the questions at night, and I'm sorry last night I made a boo-boo and I listed the same question twice. I don't multitask well at all. In fact, I can't multitask. I'll just be honest with you. Some things that Todd can't do, and that's one of them. So when people are talking to me and I'm trying to type, that's a mistake. So that's what happened, and it's my fault. So I had a couple people call me on that, and I didn't notice it. And finally, I was like, oh man, I did. I repeated the question. So sorry about that. I hope you're having fun with those questions. That's for your benefit. And I do enjoy knowing that you're out there interacting with each other and with the Bible, and that you're in that. So that's just a joy to your pastor. I just want you to know that. Me and Felix and Frog met last night by phone, I guess you could say. So we had a good conversation, a good long conversation. We are going to work on trying to get some kind of meeting with the deacons and with Cindy all together on Saturday afternoon. And then we may even meet with the finance committee next week as well, just to keep everybody in the loop of everything that we need to. So just pray for the leadership as we continue to work and try to minister to you and keep things moving along. All right. We love you. Have a good afternoon.